Well, when you see him, tell him to call me.
All right.
So
well,
we'll see.
I think he actively doesn't want to give you that stuff. Probably Michael's involved in telling him, don't give your mother anything.
Well, that's what I will find out.
I mean, it's when there's as much money missing as we believe there is, something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's so many red flags there, not the least of which is the fact that the way he wrote off that Tundra on your tax return and the way he did it, which was entirely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it very boneheaded. But regardless, as we said, did you ever look for the last year's return, the 11 return?
No. I know it's here someplace.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't do us any good, knowing it's there somewhere. You were doing all that organizing. Why don't you try to find it?
I'll see what I can do.
All right, so you don't want anything to do with that anymore. You don't want me to be involved in that anymore.
No, I'll see what I can do. I finally sat down, put my feet up, and I really don't want to get up and start looking through stuff again.
You don't have to do it this minute, but, it would have probably been more important to find that than to reorganize the pantry. I mean, doesn't it register with you that perhaps $400,000 of your money has been hidden away where you can't get it? That doesn't bother you? Money that could be used for retirement or any of a number of other purposes?
Yeah, it does bother me. It makes me want to throw up.
Well, when you're through throwing up, go find the tax return and get Scott to, own up to some of this stuff. I mean, this really is one of those situations where if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And I mean Scott. I mean, this is really pretty bad.
No, you mean me too.
No, I don't mean you two. You are not actively involved in doing this. You're just frightened. But, you still need to do something to help yourself. I mean, if knowing Scott, it is hidden either in states where it's hard to get any visibility, or it is offshore somewhere. In some island where Scott came up with this great idea on how to hide money. But, if it's in this country, it could be Wells Fargo, or he could decide, you know what, if I put it in a state that only has branches in, say, Montana, then it's very hard for anyone to have any access to it. That's the one thing about a national bank that has offices all over the country is that you can go in any office and you should be able to, with a subpoena, get access. But when it's out of state and they don't have any local branches, a subpoena doesn't really work so well. So that's how you hide money. It happens every day. I mean, the Pricewater, or rather the Deloitte and Touche firm that I was with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a whole department, and its function was to track down these kinds of situations. But regardless, you need to help things here. Those little girls, it was actually a mother who was driving along with them in an SUV, just sitting there with the windshield wipers going, fast. And that's a kid just got off a bus. And sitting in the SUV, I guess that way the kids can always jump into the SUV if the rain gets worse. But it's not drizzling. It's raining fairly heavily. What about there?
Yeah, it is here too.
No. And when I saw the weather forecast, from 1 o'clock, it looked like it was going to be pretty heavy all afternoon and early evening, until after dark. And then it just has to dry up. And, it's supposed to cool off a bunch and get windy. All right, so Peter said he would tell Scott you wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
Had you left him a voicemail message as well?
No.
All right. Well, this is one situation where you're probably better off leaving Peter on the edge of it. Because we know that he doesn't want to be involved, and I think it causes him a lot of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So, since Peter has been pretty cooperative lately, but, it's kind of ironic. Scott and Lissy get out of that house. They have everything stored away. They're living in your townhouse, kind of with a minimalist footprint. And ironically, it allows him to be even more invisible than usual. Because he has a place, but it's not his place. It's not in his name. There's no lease. I mean, he is about as invisible as you can get right now. And I guess they had quite a bit of snow up in northern Idaho and Montana, where they're going in a few weeks, or next week, whenever it's going to be. School bus is going kind of fast. Now it looks like there's some kids from other house next door across the street. They're going to go out. They have umbrellas. But so far it's been mostly girls of middle school age, junior high school age. Interesting.
Sounds like the rain's picking up here.
Yeah, well, it's not slowing down.
Yeah.
And what is it? So it's after 4, and I haven't seen anyone here. So I have Milky Way bars and Reese's caramel peanut butter cups, whatever they are. So, anyway, aren't you glad I'm not there now?
Why?
Because I'm giving you a hard time about Scott.
Well, doesn't matter.
It needs to be addressed. Another thing too. I mean, let's say that Michael serves you with divorce papers. You go in the court, or even in a deposition, and his lawyer says, "Well, Mrs. Wolf, didn't it occur to you that you should be more involved in these things, or didn't it occur to you that you should have, a chance to look at the tax return? Why didn't you ask for it?" I mean, they're going to turn around and use it against you. I mean, you can say, well, you asked for it and he didn't give it to you until after the filing date. But, I mean, I can tell you that any halfway decent lawyer is going to use what Michael has done against you. And you can say as much as you want, well, I kept asking and no one would give it to you. Well, did you ask Michael? No. So you only asked Scott? Yes. Well, why didn't you ask him more times? Or why didn't you ask Michael? Didn't you think that it was important enough to have a copy of this that you could ask Michael or ask Scott more times? Don't you think you were being irresponsible, Mrs. Wolf?